Hey, what's up guys? Today is the first video in a series I'm doing, and it's basically a gigantic tutorial series on Injustice. And when I say tutorial, it's basically going to be a breakdown of how to play, how to get better, how to learn, and basically do well in Injustice. And I thought the very first video, which may surprise some of you guys, is not going to be about learning your character or anything like that. It's going to be about training mode. I think Injustice probably has one of the best training modes out of any fighting game I've probably ever played. And if you familiarize yourself with the Injustice training mode, you can learn a ridiculous amount about the game and characters and matchups and frame data, important things like that, without having to fight against the characters. So a lot of the times in this game, when I would play it in tournament, or if I was just even playing online against characters I don't have a lot of experience against, I would understand how to fight them, just because the training mode for this game is so good that I could learn all their strings, all their frame data, all their wake ups, all their setups by myself in training mode with zero experience fighting against the character myself, just dealing with it in training mode. So we're just going to hop right in and talk about some of the things. So the main thing about training mode, if you pause it, go to move list, is you can look at all of the frame data for your character. Now, you can see all these things. Like, for instance, Nightwing Standing 1 starts up at 6 frames, has a 19 recovery frames, -3 on block, and +1 on hit. You can also, if you want to look at the frame data of another character, just go to practice options. You're going to go to control player 2. And now I have Superman's frame data. So I'm looking at the frame data for another character. An interesting note is they have character power. It tells you whether the character has an air dash and any special properties the character has. You'd be surprised at the kind of stuff listed here. Also talks about his trait and stuff like that. So definitely take a look at that. And also, one of the interesting things I think about training mode for Injustice is it tells you the meter burn variance for every move, plus the normal version. So if you ever spend a meter on a move, it'll tell you what that does. Or if you're not spinning the bar, it'll tell you the startup, recovery, damage, everything. So make sure you understand how to use this information. Another thing is, when you're this is especially good when you're learning the game. If you want to remember certain strings or something like that, you're trying to memorize a combo. The tagging system in this is really good. You see this little blue star right there. So let's say I want to remember the strings 4, 2, 1, 3, and let's say the staff one, I want to remember 1 forward 1, so I'll go and tag that real quick. Okay. So if I untag in training mode, you can see in the top there it has forward 2, 1, 3, which is forward Y, X, A. And it has that listed at the top, so I can say, oh yeah, that's the string I want to do. Or if I'm in staff, it's 1 forward 1. And so you can get the information like that directly on your screen. So you don't have to worry about, trying to find it and stuff like that. The tagging system is really good, especially when you're trying to learn a combo with a character you're not familiar with, so you can remember the strings. So that's really, really important thing to know how to do. Another thing that's really, really good about Injustice training mode, and you have to understand this about the game, is resetting the position. So in other fighting games, when you hit the reset button, which is usually the back or select button, if you hold left and hit reset, it'll reset you in the left corner. If you hold right and hit reset, it'll reset you in the right corner. Injustice is not like that. It has a different way of doing things. So if you go to practice options and you're going to go to reset position, they have left, right, or in place, which is wherever you are on the screen, or center. So let's say I want to reset on the right side of the screen. Let's say, for instance, I'm in training mode and all of a sudden I'm like, I want to practice Superman corner combos, right? So Superman is the second player. So I'm going to go to control player 2, reset position. I'm going to put him on the right side of the screen. Player 1 position, I want to be on the right, so that Nightwing's in the right side of the corner of the screen. I hit accept. Now I'm practicing Superman corner combos. So you have to understand how to use the training mode for Injustice and how to quickly, do things like that. Let's say I've decided that I want to practice Nightwing combos on the left side of the screen with the car bomb. So I'll go to the right side of the screen and suddenly I can practice, things like that. So understanding how to use this training mode is very, very important. And it's one of those things that the better you understand the training mode, the better you can test things, you can learn about the game, you can practice your character, and practice how to deal with other characters as well. So one of the key things about this game is understanding that about the training mode. Another important thing, besides resetting positions and just in place, you can also reset in different parts of the map. So if you go to area, if you go to great room, it'll teleport us into the other room, or the other stage transition on the map. So you get a quick little loading screen, and it'll teleport me in here. So if you want to practice something specifically to one part of the map, or let's say there's a wall bounce combo, and the middle part of the other map didn't have a wall bounce, so you want to transport over here, whatever you want to do. So if you hit default on all of that, you'll be taken back to the center of the screen, default positioning, player 1, and in whatever the normal place for the map is. So there you go. Another really, really good feature about the Injustice training mode is wake-ups. The wake-up timing on the computers is a little funky on the AI, but it's very, very good to deal with. So let's say you're having trouble dealing with a certain wake-up, and you just want to test it, right? So all you have to do is set your opponent to wake up, and then now you have the wake up recorded. So you can find out how to deal with it. Say you want to, you're like, I wonder if I can just meter burn back through that wake up. So you can learn, okay, now I can meter burn back through the wake up. If you set your opponent to always block and you throw them, you can have your opponent wake up and see what kind of situations you get to. Or if you have auto block, you can do your combos and test things like that, and you can, see if you can punish certain moves with certain things. Like, all right, I punished that with, stand 3. I can punish it with that. Can I punish it with back 2? Stuff like that. So you can test the different things you can punish wake-ups with and stuff like that. So you're like, okay, I can punish with back 2. Like, let's say, can I punish with super or something like that? So you can test the little things like that. And that's one of the important parts about the wake-ups system, is that very few fighting games have a setup or a situation you can create wake-ups that easily. Injustice is super easy for finding out how to deal with wake-ups or reversals and stuff like that. Another thing that's really good is interactables, man. In this game, understanding how interactables work is super weird. And let's say you play a character like Nightwing and you want to know how you function on certain interactables. So if you reset to the left side of the screen, now you have this car bomb. You want to know how to deal with it when Superman throws it. So you can set the computer to throw the interactable and see how you can deal with it yourself. That's super easy to set up. If you guys want to know how to do that, I'll show you guys. So I'll set the AI to this, and I'll go to record. You wait a few seconds, throw the interactable, and then you unrecord. So now I have Superman throwing the interactable at me, and I can see what I can do to get out of it or whatever. I'm like, okay, well, can I neutral jump? So you try neutral jump. Oh, that doesn't work. Maybe if I just jump backwards out of the range, and it's like, okay, now I know how to get out of it. So you have all these different ways to test to get out of things. So it's really an interesting way to see how to deal with interactables. And since interactables are really hard to learn how to deal with, oh, whoops, Superman, stop swinging at me. Since learning how to deal with interactables is really hard in this game when you first start playing, for new players, it's really good to learn and test each interactable and just go on a bunch of maps. If there's an interactable you don't understand how to deal with, like the laser, for instance, on Watchtower, that you have to duck. A lot of players don't know that. They get kind of beat up by it, and they don't know what to do. So there's little things like that. You can also test corner setups to see how to block things. Like someone hits you with some crazy reset you've never seen with a character. So you take it into training mode, you record the dummy to do it, and you can do whatever you want. So it's an interesting thing. It's the same thing with, let's say you don't know how to deal with Superman's 4-2-3. The recording is super easy. You just go to record and you say, all right, 4-2-3 breath. 4-2-3 breath. Like what can I do to get out of that or whatever, right? So now you have the computer doing 4-2-3 breath, and I mistimed it a little bit, but you guys get the idea. So it's super easy to test things like that, super easy to deal with, and you can test certain strings trying to block stuff. So let's say you have the computer do 2-2 scoop or 2-2-3. So you can try to reaction block things. So like that blocks the 2-2 scoop on reaction, and this will block the 2-2-3. Or you can test and block things like that and practice things that you normally wouldn't get to practice in an actual match. Whoops. Lesson learned: if you want to save your settings in training mode, you have to hit A when you back out, or I don't know what the input is, or PS3, but whatever the input is, you cannot hit B or back or circle or whatever it is. You have to hit accept. Otherwise, it won't save your changes. So keep that in mind. And, of course, the most important part about training mode is practicing your combos, practicing your setups, practicing characters, learning things about your character and the way to deal with, everything you do. The most important part about learning any fighting game, not just Injustice, is understanding how the training mode works, understanding how the game engine functions, and practice. Those are the main things that are going to help you get better. So as the first part of my tutorial on how to get better in Injustice, my first bit of advice for you is learn how to deal with, learn the training mode, learn how to do different things, figure out what character, or don't even figure out what character you want to play. Just learn how to use the training mode and start practicing. Those are the most important things you can do. If you know how to do those two things, you can learn how to play this game. Whether you have one person to play with in your scene, 100 people to play with, or you have 0 people to play with. If you understand how the training mode works, you can learn the game engine, you can learn how to deal with other characters, you can learn how to play Injustice just fine. So my first bit of advice in my Injustice training or Injustice tutorial, the first bit of advice, understand how the training mode works, learn how to use it, and basically just delve right into it. Mess with things, get in there, mess around, try different things, learn new setups, learn new combos, learn, I didn't know you could reset the dummy to do this, or I didn't know you could have him do that. And this is how you learn. This is how you you understand things. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the first part of this tutorial. Second part will be coming shortly. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe so that you guys can see the rest of these videos and some other wacky stuff that I do. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed. I'll see you guys again soon.